I had been singing since I was like 2 years old. My mother would always have friends over, and then she'd say, "Oh, Carol, sing for us." And then I'd sit on the arm of a chair and sing. I always did that. My name is Karole Farley, Carolyn Ray Farley. And I was born to Theodora Stark, my mother, who was the daughter of a Methodist minister. And my father was Raymond Stoll, and he was a truck farmer. And my mother had 2 babies, but then my father died of Bright's disease when he was 26. And I think I was 18 months old, and my brother was 16 days old. And my mother was 18 and left with 2 babies, and that wasn't a very good start. Then eventually I went to St. Louis Park High School, which I loved, and I was very famous there.
Why were you?
Not really. I love to say that. But I was notorious there, okay? In a way.
Why?
Because I wasn't exactly like everyone else, you know. And then, of course, I was a singer. But I never knew I was poor. Never knew, because my mother made my clothes. And then in high school, we used to trade clothes. Right in school, we'd change clothes, and I'd put on someone else's, and they'd put on mine. And everyone wanted to wear mine, but all these other people, they had money. They could go to Powers department store and buy stuff. So I never knew that I was poor at all, ever. Oh, they used to have things. There was a columnist named Cedric Adams, and they'd have notices in his column that there was a band in town, and they were looking for singers or something like that. And so girls that were interested in that would go down, like, to the Nicollet Hotel. One time at the Nicollet Hotel, when I went, I wasn't the winner. Another girl won, and then the band leader, whose name was Ben Cutler, he sat with me afterwards, and he explained to me that she had a lot of sex appeal, and I was still in high school, and I didn't have any of that. But that was fine. I didn't care about that. I was supposed to have graduated from high school, but I had a job, and it was on graduation night. So then after everyone graduated, they all drove up there to Nisswa, to the Spotlight. And then we played till like 12:30 or something like that, and then maybe we went somewhere or something. So then when it was time for me to retire, I had a room in Ma Moran's house. It was a rooming house. And I went there, and she wouldn't let me in because it was too late. And so I just had to go with this piano player who lived in a house with all the other musicians in the band. And I recall sleeping in an upper bunk with him. Of course, I didn't sleep, you know. There was a lot of talking. And then in the morning, when we got up and came downstairs, all those other musicians were there. And they were so disgusted, you know. Well, actually, not one thing had happened whatsoever. And then I wrote home and told my mother about it, and my mother said, "For God's sakes, don't tell anyone." I got a telegram from a band leader in Chicago named Horace Height, and asking me to come to Chicago and try out for a movie named Pot of Gold. And we didn't have a telephone in Brookside where I lived. And so it came down the street to somebody's house, and somebody came and found me, you know. And I went, and my mother went with me, and that kind of put the kibosh on it for me, you know, when your mother goes too. One person that was in the same situation that I was Art Carney. He was there with me in the same boat I was in, and he, you know, had a chance. And he asked me for a date, and I refused, of course. I was still in high school. I just wasn't worldly at all. In fact, I was wearing moccasins and wool sweat socks, you know, and a pleated skirt. And there was another girl there that was in the same boat, and she had a fur coat. Well, I didn't have any training or any. Well, one time I went to to a teacher. Someone told me to do this, and all they had you do was me, me, ma, mo, moo, and I just never went on with that. I mean, I just think you're born with certain things, and of course you can always improve, you know, but a couple of guys were making a thing called teen something, and they were making it at the Marigold Ballroom. And they had a meeting up at the Nicollet Hotel, and I went up there with my bobby socks and everything. And I met Bob there. He had his band there. It was a 10-piece band. And I went and talked to all the guys in the band, but I didn't speak to him. Somehow I knew. I knew something. I don't know what I knew, but he's the only one I didn't speak to. And then afterwards I met him, and at one point I went to his house on Wentworth for a rehearsal because he hired me for his band. Bob's band was going to go up to Bar Harbor, which is near Nisswa, for the summer, and then I was going to go with him. And I got to know him a little bit, but eventually we broke up because he wasn't as aggressive enough for me. And so we didn't see each other for a long time, several months, and then one day I got a phone call from Bob's brother, Bill Farley. He said, Bob's going in the Army, and would you like to go with us down to the train station to see him off? And I said, okay. I had no feelings about it anyway, but I went, and when we got there, Grandpa Farley was there, and a lot of the Farleys, and we said goodbye to him. He got on the troop train, and then he started writing me letters. And then we were writing back and forth, and that's what brought the whole thing on, you know, just writing letters. We were writing letters every day. I lived at 1729 LaSalle Avenue in Minneapolis, and he was out in New Jersey, and he was a sharpshooter in the Army, and he was in a band. And then he came home on furlough, and I met him at the train station, and then we got on a streetcar and rode up to Pillsbury Avenue, 43, whatever it was, Pillsbury Avenue, and went into his house where his mother was, and she didn't know he was coming home, and of course she did not like that at all. But she was nice enough to me, but she wanted to choose a girl for him in the choir at the church, and I wasn't Catholic. And we just got married, and I always wanted to be married. I never wanted a career or anything. I just wanted to be married, and so it was just thrilling, really. We went on a train down to Carthage, Missouri, where we found an apartment. It was the upstairs of kind of an old house. And we walked in there with the landlord, and I heard Bob say, I'll take it. And I thought, we'll take it? He wants me to live here? It was 2 rooms and a bathroom. But anyway, we did. We lived there, and of course it's a lot of fun to be married and have nothing and all that freedom. You know, so great. He drove to Camp Crowder every day, and there were rumors all the time about the band being shipped over to be stretcher bearers in the war, but eventually he never did have to go. And when we got there, in Carthage, the trunk wasn't there. And this will really tell you what kind of a girl I was. I started walking home along the tracks. That's true. That's just the way I was, because I couldn't accept anything like that. So we had our little life down there, and it was wonderful, and then the war ended, and we came home, and I wrote home and I said, now, find us a nice apartment. And of course there wasn't a single apartment to be had in Minneapolis at the time. And so we moved in with Grandpa and Grandma Farley. Limitation is the springboard to success. And that's the way it was with me. Limitation. You've got to have that. That's my philosophy.
I got a feeling it's all a frame. It's just that well-known army game. Fool